Another flight filled with migrants arrived in San Diego from Texas today.
It is the fourth flight, and it's raising questions about whether migrants are being released into the community. News 8's Brandon Lewis is here now to separate what's real from what isn't in a Verify report. Brandon?
Yeah, Carlo and Barberly, we've seen a lot on social media and in our own email about what's happening to the migrants once they're flown to San Diego. The county estimates more than 400 were flown here, so we verify how they got to Texas and what happens after they're processed here in San Diego.
A fourth plane full of people caught entering the U.S. illegally in Texas touched down in San Diego. Border Patrol will process them locally under a new program to ease the backlog in the Rio Grande. So we verify, why are the migrants going to Texas, and are the migrants ending up in our community? Many of the detainees are from Honduras, El Salvador, and Guatemala. They cross into southern Mexico and usually go north on two routes. San Ysidro is perceived as a safer but geographically further path. The route to McAllen is considered more dangerous but shorter and is lately seeing an overwhelming number of migrants. Border Patrol says San Diego is capable of processing more people, so they're flying them here. Within 72 hours, the group is turned over to Immigration and Customs Enforcement. If they want asylum, they're then released to a local shelter pending court appearances. But that doesn't mean they're staying here. Usually, they're sent to sponsors or families across the country within 2 days. Border Patrol says San Diego will continue receiving 3 plane loads of people a week for processing indefinitely. So while we verified migrants from the flights are ending up in the community, it's not necessarily for long.
Now, we repeatedly asked Border Patrol over the last week whether they are sending migrants back to Mexico to wait for their court appearances, and so far we don't have an answer. Meanwhile, if there's something you want us to verify, send an email to verify@kfmb.com.